Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Elliot Graves never thought the calm he'd built his career on, keeping his cool under pressure as an air traffic controller, would get tested in such a personal, devastating way. At 36, Elliot was the kind of guy people trusted, methodical, observant, able to make life-or-death decisions in fractions of a second while guiding planes thousands of feet in the air. His professional life in Denver, Colorado, was flawless. His personal life? He believed that was too. Married for 9 years to Brielle, a vibrant, social corporate event coordinator who was 34, Elliot saw his marriage as a solid anchor in the chaos of the world. They'd met at a mutual friend's birthday party, where Brielle won him over with her easy laugh and the way she made everyone feel like they mattered. Elliot, quieter and more introspective, fell for her energy, how she lit up any room. Their marriage felt natural, a logical next step after 2 years of dating when everything just seemed to fit. They bought a comfortable house in a quiet Denver neighborhood with a big yard where they planned to one day see kids playing. They didn't have children yet, but they talked about trying soon, maybe next year, once Brielle's career settled a bit and Elliot could adjust his shifts. Their routines were intense. Elliot worked rotating shifts at the control tower, sometimes overnight, sometimes in the afternoon, always alert, always focused, knowing lives depended on his precision. Brielle was constantly on the move, organizing conferences, product launches, corporate events that demanded her constant presence, occasional travel, and a wide network of contacts. She was outgoing, talkative, always glued to her phone replying to messages, coordinating teams, closing deals. Elliot admired her dedication, even if it meant they spent less time together than they wanted. They had an unspoken agreement, mutual trust, space to grow professionally, unconditional support. Or at least, that's what Elliot believed. The first signs were subtle, almost invisible. Brielle started staying at the office later more often, getting home after 10, exhausted but always with a ready excuse. An event ran long, a last-minute meeting with a demanding client, a technical issue she had to fix in person. Elliot never questioned it. He trusted her completely and understood the demands of a high-pressure job. Then came the trips. Brielle had always traveled occasionally for events outside Denver, but in the past few weeks, the trips had become more frequent. An event in Boulder, a conference in Colorado Springs, a launch in Fort Collins. Always nearby, day trips, but keeping her away from home. Elliot also started noticing Brielle was different, more distant emotionally, less interested in deep conversations, always distracted by her phone even when they were eating dinner together. She smiled at her screen in a way Elliot hadn't seen in a long time when she looked at him. When he asked, she gave vague answers about funny work group memes or a friend sharing gossip. Elliot wanted to believe her, but a growing unease started gnawing at his peace. The turning point came on a Friday in October, when autumn had painted the trees gold and red. Elliot was scheduled to work until 5, but a last-minute shift change let him off at 3. He decided to surprise Brielle. He knew she was at the office, finalizing details for a big event coming up next week, and thought he'd pick her up early and take her to that Italian restaurant she loved, maybe reignite the connection he felt slipping away. Elliot got in his car, drove to the commercial building where Brielle's event company was located, found a spot on the street, and took the elevator up to the 10th floor. The receptionist, a friendly young woman who recognized him, greeted him with a smile. "Hi, Elliot. Looking for Brielle?" He nodded. The receptionist frowned. "Oh, she left over an hour ago. Said she had an off-site meeting." Elliot felt a knot form in his stomach. Brielle had texted him just 2 hours earlier saying she'd be working until 8. Why lie? Elliot went back down to his car, heart pounding, trying to rationalize. Maybe she'd gone to an off-site meeting and forgot to update him. Maybe her phone died. But the unease wouldn't let go. Then he remembered, they shared car GPS access, a safety feature they'd set up years ago in case either of them ever needed help in an emergency. Elliot pulled out his phone, opened the tracking app, and checked Brielle's location. The red dot was blinking at an address on the outskirts of Denver, near the industrial area. Elliot zoomed in and recognized the name, the Summit View Hotel, a discreet, modern place popular with business travelers. He clicked through the location history and felt the ground vanish beneath him. The same hotel had appeared repeatedly over the past few weeks, always on Wednesdays and Fridays, always in the afternoon. Elliot didn't think. He just acted. He started the car and drove to the hotel, a 20-minute trip that felt like forever. His mind spun, searching for some innocent explanation, but deep down, he already knew. Elliot parked beside Brielle's car, a white SUV he'd helped her pick out 2 years ago. His stomach churned. He walked into the hotel lobby, a sleek space with soft lighting and minimalist furniture. He approached the front desk, where a young attendant greeted him. Elliot switched into his professional mode, the calm he used when handling critical situations in the tower. "Good afternoon. My wife, Brielle Graves, made a reservation here today. She asked me to meet her, but I forgot the room number. Could you help?" The attendant hesitated, checked the system. "Ah, yes, Mr. Graves. Room 312. But I need to confirm with the guest first." Elliot didn't wait. "Thanks. That's all I needed." He turned and walked straight toward the elevators, ignoring the attendant's polite protests. He took the elevator to the 3rd floor, heart hammering, palms sweating. Room 312 was at the end of a quiet hallway. He stopped in front of the door, took a deep breath, and knocked. Footsteps on the other side. The door opened, and a stranger stood there, wrapped in nothing but a towel around his waist. He looked about 40, dark hair slicked back, still damp, confused. "Yeah? Can I help you?" Elliot didn't answer. His eyes moved past the man, into the room, where he saw Brielle sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing a white hotel robe, hair messy, face pale as paper. She saw him and froze, eyes wide with pure terror. "Elliot," the man turned, understood, and stepped back. "Look, man, I can explain." Elliot cut him off with a look so cold it made junior controllers in the tower flinch. "You don't need to." He turned back to Brielle, who was now standing, hands shaking. "Get dressed. We're going home." His voice was low, controlled, but there was a chill in it that made Brielle swallow hard. She nodded, grabbed her clothes from the floor, and rushed into the bathroom. The man, still in his towel, tried to speak. "Dude, I'm really sorry, I didn't know she was." Elliot raised a hand, silencing him. "I don't care who you are. But you will soon." He turned and walked back down the hallway, waiting. 10 minutes later, Brielle came out, dressed, eyes red but no tears yet, as if she were in shock. They walked down together in silence, stepped out to the parking lot, got into their respective cars. The drive home was a silent nightmare. Elliot drove on autopilot, his mind racing, processing, cataloging, deciding. While waiting at a red light, he pulled out his phone and took screenshots of the GPS history, saved everything to the cloud, and emailed copies to his personal account. Evidence. He needed evidence. They got home as the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink, a cruel beauty contrasting with the hell inside Elliot. They walked in. Brielle hesitated. Elliot went straight to the kitchen table, opened his laptop, printed out the GPS screenshots showing every visit to the hotel over the past weeks. He laid them all out like he was preparing a briefing. Brielle stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, arms wrapped around herself, looking at her husband with fear and guilt mixed together. Elliot finally looked at her, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "Do you have something to say?" Brielle broke. The tears finally came, pouring out, sobs shaking her body. She stepped forward, reaching for Elliot's arm, but he pulled away. "Elliot, please, let me explain, then explain." His voice was pure ice. Brielle sat down, hands over her face. It was an error. A terrible one. I never meant for this to happen. How many times? Elliot asked, pointing to the printouts. Count. How many times did you go to that hotel? Brielle sniffled, wiped her face. I don't know. Some. 8, maybe 10. 10 times isn't an error, Brielle. 10 times is a choice. A choice you made over and over. He leaned forward, hands on the table. Who is he? Greg Townsend. He provides AV equipment for events. We started working together in June, and he was attentive, funny, made me laugh, and that justifies it? Elliot's voice rose for the first time. That justifies you cheating on me? Lying to my face every single day? Brielle cried harder. No. It doesn't justify anything. I felt alone, Elliot. You're always working, always tired, we barely talk anymore, don't try to blame this on me. Elliot slammed his hand on the table, making Brielle jump. If you were unhappy, you should have talked to me. You should have tried to fix our problems together. But no, you chose to sleep with another man. How many times did I come home from work and you lied to my face, saying you were at an event? How many times did you kiss me after being with him? Brielle couldn't answer. She just cried. Elliot kept going, relentless. Does he know you're married? Brielle hesitated, then nodded. Is he married too? Silence. Elliot laughed, a bitter sound. Of course he is. So you're both destroying 2 families. Wonderful. He stepped back from the table, ran a hand through his hair. It's over, Brielle. The marriage is over. Now. No. Brielle stood up, desperate. Please, Elliot, we can fix this. I'll end it with him, I'll go to therapy, I'll do anything you want, but don't end us like this. You ended us the moment you chose to betray my trust. Elliot stared at her. I trusted you completely. Not once, not ever, did I doubt you. And you threw that away for what? Because he made you laugh? Because I work too much? He shook his head. No. You made this choice because you wanted to. And now you'll live with the consequences. Brielle begged for hours, but Elliot was firm. He told her she could sleep in the guest room that night, but tomorrow she needed to start looking for another place to live. Brielle argued, but she could see there was no turning back. She went upstairs, defeated, while Elliot stayed in the kitchen, staring at the printouts, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and cold clarity about what he had to do. On Saturday morning, Elliot woke up early, despite sleeping little. Brielle was still in the guest room. He picked up his phone and started searching. First, he looked up divorce laws in Colorado. He learned the state was no fault, meaning he didn't need to prove adultery to get divorced, but evidence could help in asset division if there was a dispute. Elliot took notes, then searched for divorce lawyers in Denver. He found a well-reviewed firm, sent an email briefly explaining the situation, and requested an urgent consultation for Monday. Then Elliot did something he knew was necessary, even if it hurt others. He searched Greg Townsend Denver audiovisual equipment on social media. He found Greg's profile quickly. Greg was married to a woman named Vanessa, and they had 2 young kids, a boy and a girl. Photos showed a happy family, staged smiles, beach vacations, birthday parties. Elliot felt a pang of guilt, but pushed it down. Vanessa deserved to know the truth, just like he had. Elliot created an anonymous email account and wrote a short, direct message. Vanessa, I'm sorry I have to tell you this, but you deserve the truth. Your husband, Greg Townsend, is having an affair with a coworker named Brielle Graves. They meet at the Summit View Hotel on Wednesdays and Fridays. Attached are location history screenshots. Check his phone. You deserve someone who respects you. Elliot attached a few GPS screenshots, omitting anything that could directly identify him, and sent it. It wasn't revenge, he told himself. It was justice. Vanessa had a right to know, just like he had. Monday arrived. Elliot took the day off work and went straight to the lawyer's office, bringing all the evidence he'd collected. The lawyer, a middle-aged man named Richard Foster, reviewed everything carefully. "You've got a solid case," Richard said. "In Colorado, asset division is usually equal, but with these evidence of adultery and the fact your wife used joint funds for these meetings," he pointed to bank statements Elliot had brought, showing hotel charges, "we can argue for a more favorable split for you." "How long have you been married?" 9 years. "And you have joint assets?" "A house, 2 cars, some savings, and investments." "Nothing too complex." Richard made notes. "Kids?" "No, that simplifies things a lot. I'll prepare the divorce paperwork. Do you want to try for an amicable settlement first, or go straight to litigation?" Elliot thought for a moment. "I'll talk to her. If she cooperates, we can resolve this faster. But if she doesn't, I'm ready to push forward." Richard nodded. "Fair. I'll get everything ready. You'll have the documents to sign and serve within a week." Meanwhile, the bomb Elliot had planted was exploding in Greg's life. Vanessa got the anonymous email on Sunday night, checked her husband's phone while he slept, and found all the messages with Brielle that Greg had been careless enough not to delete. On Monday morning, she confronted Greg, who tried to deny it, but the evidence was overwhelming. Vanessa kicked Greg out of the house, called a divorce lawyer, and did something Greg didn't expect. She contacted Brielle's company, sending a formal email to HR detailing the affair between Brielle and Greg, a vendor, and how it had destroyed her marriage. She attached proof, including text exchanges where Greg and Brielle mixed business event details with romantic talk, suggesting conflicts of interest and inappropriate conduct. On Tuesday, Brielle was called into an HR meeting. She came home shattered. The company had terminated Greg's contract, banned him from future collaborations, and issued Brielle a formal warning for conduct that compromises the company's image and violates vendor relationship policies. She wasn't fired, but her reputation inside the company was ruined. Colleagues started whispering, judging glances followed her down the halls. Greg, realizing he'd lost not just a key client but others by association as word quietly spread through the industry, blamed Brielle. He called her, furious, saying she'd ruined his life, that Vanessa was fighting for full custody of the kids, that he was losing everything because of her. Brielle tried to defend herself, but Greg hung up and blocked her number. The whole thing ended as fast as it started, but the wreckage remained. When Elliot handed Brielle the divorce papers on Wednesday, she was completely broken. She didn't fight. She signed everything without contesting, accepting a split that left her with less than she could have legally claimed, just wanting it all to be over. Elliot kept the house, most of the investments, and they split the 2 cars evenly. Brielle moved into a small apartment on the other side of town, near her job, a sterile space that didn't feel like a home. The divorce was finalized in 3 months, surprisingly fast by most standards, thanks to both parties' cooperation and the lack of children or prolonged disputes. During that time, Elliot buried himself in work, taking extra shifts, keeping his mind busy. He avoided thinking about Brielle, blocked her on every social platform, deleted photos, stored memories in boxes in the attic he never opened again. Friends and family were told about the separation, and while Elliot didn't give gory details, the truth eventually leaked through mutual acquaintances. Brielle's reputation suffered, especially within their shared social circle. Some judged her harshly, others stayed neutral, but most naturally sided with Elliot, who'd always been seen as the stable, reliable partner. 6 months after that fateful Friday, Elliot was in a completely different place. He'd started therapy, not because he felt broken, but because he wanted to process everything healthily and move forward without carrying resentment. His therapist helped him understand that Brielle's betrayal wasn't a reflection of his failures as a husband, but of her choices as a person. Elliot also began exploring new hobbies. He'd always wanted to try rock climbing but never had time. He signed up for an indoor climbing gym in Denver and discovered he loved the physical and mental challenge, the need for total focus that quieted his restless mind. There, he met a group of people who became friends, including an instructor named Nadia, who had a warm smile and a genuine passion for mountaineering. They started talking after classes, found common interests, and for the first time in months, Elliot felt a real, honest connection with someone else. He wasn't ready for a relationship yet, but the possibility of starting over didn't feel so distant or frightening anymore. Brielle, on the other hand, struggled. She tried to rebuild her career, but the stain on her professional reputation followed her. She kept her job, but was never considered for promotions or prestigious projects again. Socially, she was isolated. Friends from the couple clearly picked Elliot's side, and making new friends was hard when she carried the weight of guilt and shame. Greg had vanished from her life, lost in his own bitter divorce where Vanessa was fighting fiercely for full custody of the kids, and winning. Brielle tried reaching out to Elliot a few times, sending messages apologizing, hoping for some closure or forgiveness, but he never replied. Eventually, she stopped trying. The last bit of news Elliot heard about her, through a mutual acquaintance who mentioned it casually, was that Brielle had moved back in with her mother in Colorado Springs, quit her job in Denver, and was trying to start over far from judging eyes and painful memories. A year after the discovery, Elliot sat in his living room, the house truly his now, rearranged to his taste, free of the ghosts of a marriage that no longer existed. He looked out the window at the backyard, where the first spring flowers were beginning to bloom, a symbol of renewal he didn't miss. Elliot thought about everything that had happened, how a single afternoon had changed his life completely. He could have stayed trapped in bitterness, anger, in a prolonged desire for revenge. But he chose differently. The revenge he carried out was surgical, necessary to ensure justice and protect his own interests, but it didn't consume his soul. He exposed the truth, let the natural consequences unfold, and then simply moved on. There was no more room in his life for Brielle, for the past, for what could have been. Only for what would be from here on out. Elliot learned painful but valuable lessons. He learned that trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt with empty words or promises. He learned that people make choices, and those choices have consequences that echo far beyond the moment they're made. He learned that sometimes, the most powerful response to betrayal isn't rage or destructive revenge, but simply removing the person who betrayed you from your life and rebuilding something better, something stronger, something truly yours. And above all, he learned that moving on didn't mean forgetting or pretending the pain never existed, it meant carrying the lessons learned while refusing to let them define his future. The last time Elliot thought about Brielle was on a Saturday afternoon, while climbing a challenging wall at the gym, Nadia watching below with an encouraging smile. He reached the top, touched the final hold, and looked down. The height didn't scare him anymore. Nothing scared him anymore. He'd survived the fall, learned to climb again, and now he was higher than ever. Brielle was just a distant memory, a scar that no longer hurt. And Elliot was okay with that. More than okay. He was free. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.